All right, folks, today we conclude chapter 7. We are speaking about tshuva tata, the lower level of returning to God. Tshuva means returning, repentance. No, it doesn't really mean repentance. It means to return. Tashuv, hey, you're returning the hey. What hey are you returning? As we've learned, our divine soul is made up of God's name, which has a ladder hey over here, and we're returning that hey refers to Malchus, to the Shekhinah, the divine presence of God. Divine presence of God through our transgressions. We bring that divine presence, the Shekhinah, into exile, further exile. And we also bring our soul that is from getting life from the Shekhinah, from the divine presence of God. We're also bringing it into a place of defilement, a place of negativity, even death, as it were, as death is a negativity, not direct vitality from God's inner will, his direct name. That's what happens when we do a transgression. Now, what we spoke about till now is a transgression that is of a serious nature, like something that would bring a penalty of early death by divine agency, like eating bread on Passover for a Jew, wasteful emission, and these things are more of a serious nature. So we can do tshuva. When we do those things, we can fix it. We can return God's name to the rightful place, meaning the hay that has fallen into exile, the divine presence to be reconnected, our soul to be reconnected. Now, what happens with other kinds of sins that are not so serious in their punishment? For example, ignoring the needy. Now, there's someone that's needy and we ignore them because we don't want to give for whatever reason, right? So our sages have told us that actually, interesting, that is similar to idolatry. Idolatry is not recognizing God. Ignoring the needy is not recognizing God. But the punishment isn't as serious. Further, another example, tale-bearing, right? Speaking ill about another. So that is actually equated to idolatry, immoral behavior, bloodshed. How about a vile temper? Not angry. There's no punishment in the Torah for getting angry. So maybe I'm not so cut off from God that I have to do tshuva in such a manner. Yet our sages do compare it to idolatry. Or how about just plain old being arrogant? Or how about just a simple thing like neglect of Torah? Studying Torah, we neglect it. Again, there isn't any severe punishment for that, although our sages say that God doesn't, he doesn't overlook that, but there isn't punishment. So how do we look at that? In other words, is that cutting me off from God? That now I have to do tshuva to return the divine presence of God and my soul, that it should be in the rightful place? How do we understand it? Now, of course, it's a wrong thing, and we've got to fix it. But in the concept that we're speaking here, how do we put it into that context? So the Alter Rebbe gives a metaphor, actually a couple of metaphors. One is of a rope that's made up of 613 strands. 613 commandments. Now, if you only one mitzvah, you fail, you break that strand of the rope, well, it's still pretty strong. But if you continuously do the same thing over and over and over again, you continuously then weaken the rope, so much so that it finally will get severed. Will finally get severed. Another metaphor the Alter Rebbe uses, perhaps not so simple. So like a serious sin is like, the sun is vitality. The sun is vitality. Thick clouds cover over the sun. You don't get the vitality of the sun, at least not in a direct way. You're getting it through the clouds. Of course, all vitality only comes from God, so you're getting it from God. The question is, it's direct. So the metaphor of the sun is direct. With the clouds, it's now not direct, it's indirect. It's from klipa. It's been covered over. But so thick clouds, yes. But you know what? Thin clouds, many of them, they may not be thick. Dark clouds, which is like a very serious sin that covers over on the light of God. But what if it's thin clouds? If it's many thin clouds, then it has the same effect as the thick cloud. No difference. And can cut us off in such a manner that we need to do tshuva in order to reconnect properly. So the thin clouds has the same effect. Take, perfect example, of course, is if you take your window, the sun is coming in, and if you took a thick curtain and covered, of course it's not going to allow the brightness of the sun to come in. But what if you took many very flimsy light curtains? They're not thick, they're not dark, they're light, they're very thin, but you took many of them. It's going to have the same effect in the end. So whether it's a one time doing something there's a very serious punishment in it in the Torah that is a cutoff from God, or if we do something repeatedly like tale-bearing, being arrogant, get angry, wasting time of studying Torah, ignoring the needy. There's no grave punishment in the Torah for those things, yet if we repeatedly do it, it has the same effect as a grave sin, as we gave in the several metaphors over here, and cuts us off. And what do we need to do? Tshuva. We have to reconnect. Tashuv. Hey. Return the hay. The hay in God's name, because we've affected the divine presence of God, the Shekhinah, bringing it into greater exile. We have affected our soul that has a part of, the soul is a part of God. The hay in God's name, the way it is in my soul down here in a body, I've imprisoned it, not allowed it to shine. So repentance means to bring it back. Now, what the Alter Rebbe did over here for us is give us an understanding on how even the simple things that we all do. People get angry, people waste time, people, have a sense of arrogance. We ignore the needy. We do those things just because we're human. And we need to know that when we meditate upon that, about that this cuts us off, then it'll bring us to do tshuva. In what way? In a direct and true path. Meaning that when we meditate upon this, that this is what we are doing to our soul, this is what we're doing to the divine presence of God, and we think about it, it will bring us to a contrite heart, a broken heart, and it will lead us in the path of doing, not just doing tshuva, but doing it in a way that will last, that will make real change in our lives. So in conclusion of chapter 7, we had two things. The first thing was the compassion of what we are doing to our divine soul, how we're affecting the divine presence. So we will have compassion. And then that will lead to an awareness of God's presence that will help us to do proper tshuva. Together with that, we need to crush the negative source where it's coming from. That negative source is from my body's agenda, which is animated by the animal soul and its agenda. That will cover up on the divine soul within me and to do the right thing that I need to do in my life. So when we contemplate about that, meditate upon that, we will come to a place of a contrite heart, even a broken heart. Broken because we understand that we need to break the negative force within me. Not to break our body or break our animal soul, but to break its nature. That it should not rule my life. It should not control my life. But I should be in control. When am I in control? When my godly soul is the one that is revealed, not in exile, not imprisoned. And tshuva is allowing me to reinstate it where it needs to be. Powerful idea. Any questions on this, folks? Because we just finished. That's only a lower level of tshuva. It's only a lower level of tshuva. I mean, it's powerful. Nothing to minimize, but understand that it is the lower level. Okay. Alan from LA, thank you for joining. Ella from Arizona, good morning. Alan from Montreal, thank you for joining. Anita, blessings to you. Alexandra, speaking to the people. Alexandra, you know what I'm really doing? I'm speaking to myself. I think of myself and, you know, the things that I need to improve, engage in, and to fix. You know, unfortunately, the human condition. Unfortunately, the fact of the human condition is that we, or I, always think about these things for others. Oh, my spouse, boy, they could really do tshuva now. I know how they can, you know, the this and that. My children or my friend or no. There's no one else. Just me. Arthur, Boker Tov. Julie, God bless you. Yes, that's, we have to be careful, again, we have to be careful with this to speak to others about it. Yes, I'm teaching about it, but I'm speaking to myself. That's very, very important. This is not about how to influence someone else. It's about how to influence ourselves. I hope that's clear. Naomi from Peru, thank you for joining. Thank you. Niurka, did I pronounce that right? Niurka? Was that nice? Thank you, Niurka. Okay, thank you, John, from France. Thank you for sharing. And Rona, Mark from Santa Rosa. Thank you, Rona. Thank you, Esther and Anna. The higher level of tshuva, stay tuned. Next chapter, it'll be coming. Rona, very good point that you're making. We're going to get there in the next chapter. Very good. Aaron from Colombia. As Heather said, BIT, we're a Bainani in training. Well said. Exactly. Aaron Bokertov. Eric, how can we know how to do tshuva? What if it's unclear to us? In a specific situation. Well, excellent question. First of all, we usually know when we did something wrong. We may not want to admit it to others, but at least let's admit it to ourselves. So we know when there's arrogance. We know when we're neglecting the needy. We know it. Again, we may not admit it to someone else when they will point it out to us. But in our heart of hearts, we know if we are, neglecting study of Torah, if we're neglecting doing what God needs from me, right? If I'm speaking ill about another, we know it when something is wrong. So we need to, first of all, as we mentioned, have compassion. Compassion is not about my situation. Accepting my situation, that's not compassion. That's misplaced compassion. That's like, telling being compassionate to the drug addict and giving them more money because, listen, No. Compassion over here means the amazing presence of God that is affected by this, your unbelievable soul, divine soul that's being affected by this, and having compassion on it, that this is the effect that I'm having on it. And furthermore, then you want to crush that negative spirit that is bringing you down, to humble it for a broken and contrite heart. So it will not control me, I'll be in control of it. So that's the method. That's the method. How do I know if I've done something wrong? You're right, sometimes it's tricky. Sometimes it's not so obvious. Usually it is, and those times it's tricky. Maybe we need some help and guidance in that, and to share that with our mentor or someone who we trust that will help us through it. That's it, folks. Please share the Alter Rebbe's teachings with others. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from my home in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day.